Welcome to Living in the Matrix. I'm Jonathan, and I'm left of center.
And I'm Rich, and I tend to lean a little bit more to the right. But the bottom line is together we try to look for the balance of what it means to be human in today's world.
All right, let's get started. Welcome, everybody. This is Living in the Matrix. I'm Jonathan. Say hello, Rich.
Hey, everybody. Great to be here, and really looking forward to our guest today.
Yeah, we have just one of the most wonderful guests, and this is a topic that I have always been interested in, is the idea of near-death experiences and what happens after that, because most people focus on that near-death moment, but what also happens after that. We're going to dive into a lot of that today. So let me introduce our guest. So this is Virginia Drake. Virginia has worked in the fields of education, social work, counseling, consulting, and motivational speaking for over 30 years. So she comes with a huge amount of experience. She holds a master's degree in education from Georgetown College, a teaching certificate from Eastern Kentucky University, and a BS degree in social work from Murray, Kentucky. So she's got this huge background that's very well developed. And in 1998, Virginia had a miraculous healing after a major heart attack and near-death experience. So that's what we're going to be diving into. And it was then that she became interested in the mind, body, and spirit connection, which is what we focus on here, and the impact these forces can have on one's health and relationship. So I'm so interested in diving into this conversation. And to finish, she has devoted over 20 years of intensive study on meditation, natural healing, quantum physics, and how the electromagnetic field in the human body works in connection with the healing process. Virginia, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me here.
It's
You're
fantastic.
in California. I'm in Kentucky, and it's cold here.
Oh, is it cold? It's
yes,
unfortunately still 90. Yeah, it's still 94 degrees here in California
well,
today.
it's 61 here, but it's cold. And I've been out cleaning and doing my garden, but I have done tomato sauce all day today. So I am a mother that also cleans and does gardening. So I am all of it today. It's been like a lot of work. No, but we want to talk about my near-death experience. And
So, yeah, let's dive in. Help us understand. I know that I read a little bit of a primer, but your whole experience starts in 1998. Why don't you start there and give us sort of a primer on that experience so that
well,
we
let
can
me tell you,
unpack it
I'm
a
going
little?
to go all the way back to when I was
Okay.
born.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
I was my mother's seventh miscarriage in 1951, and I was only a pound and 7 ounces. And this is what, when you have had these experiences that I had, I was with a very dear friend that was blind, and he came in 3 months prior to me in 51, and he lost his eyes. He was a sighted child, but when they put him into the incubator and put him in pure oxygen, it burnt the retinas out of his eyes.
Whoa.
Oh,
Three
wow.
months later, I came in, and this is soulfulness. This is when you really understand how the soul works. He
Mhm.
gave his eyesight for me.
He gained it back.
And no, he didn't get it back.
He gave it to her.
Oh,
Gave
he
his,
gave it. Okay.
he took his eyesight out so I would not be affected by the blinding if they did it to me. Because he was the first child that ever, they didn't realize that if you take pure oxygen, it'll burn the retinas out.
Oh my
Oh, my gosh.
goodness.
He was sighted. So when it came down from high school, Earl and I are very good friends, and he is blind. But
Mhm.
he called me. His aunt called me and says, "Would you please take Earl to the high school? He's going to go to high school with you, Jenny." And I got to walk with him. Now he's a big guy. He was a wrestler, and he could smell you anywhere.
Wow.
I mean, he was state champion, and he was
Wow.
and I was this little bitty cheerleading kind of girl, and this big guy. And if anybody messed with me, it didn't matter. They were scared of him because he could knock you down. He would take, but he used to hear us. He'd say, this is one thing about with women. I can always bump up against them, and they're not going to get upset with me. He was so bad. He was bad. So that's how I wanted you to understand that that started way back in 1951. So that came down because I had drowned twice before that. I mean, after that, then I have had two strokes, two heart attacks, and then in 2019 I was paralyzed from the neck down and in a hospital room for in a hospital for 3 days. But I went into the MRI and took in all of the electromagnetic field of that MRI and came out light.
Wow.
So yes, oh yeah, you can. I mean, that's when I said this to that one video. I said we can do this, and I've been doing this and walking over that line for a long time. But it is electrical and it is a magnetic. So you've got to learn how to go in there, and it's all about breath and it's about grounding. And this is what we're doing now with my partner, Jeremy, who is like my son too. And he's been with me for 15 years. And I said, we've got it. When Jeff called me, I've been doing this for a long, long time. I never thought it would just escalate into something else. We've had over 1,000 emails.
Wow.
I know. I mean, I'm semi-retired. I mean, I have clientele all over the world, and then I get all of these people, and it threw me backwards. I mean, I thought, wait a minute, I'm going to give up. I'm not doing this. I'm 72 years old, guys. Come on. I need a break. So that's what I'm
Virginia,
telling.
Virginia, what did those sort you've experienced a lot of near death, like like you almost died. What does that feel like for a person who's gone through that repeatedly? Because if you get one near death experience, like I've had about 5 or 6 where I've could have easily died or probably should have died. And it's a weird experience. How has that affected you?
Well, I really didn't know about it until 1998 when I had the big heart attack. It really did knock me backward to another thought process because I really did see this. I mean, I'm sitting in my den and I lived in a farm and we had 11 acres. And I mean, I was working. I mean, like everybody else was, we had the big farm, we had the big house, we had the whole thing, the American dream. And we looking good, we looked really good. But there was a lot of things that were going wrong in that house. But how it started it was I just walked into my den and there was nobody there. The kids were gone, they were in high school, and that we're sitting there and this man starts talking on the TV and he's going, don't get a heart transplant. And I thought, okay, I'm not, And I mean, it was like, but he was talking to me. It was almost like he would come
Mhm.
out of the TV and look right at me and say, don't get a heart transplant. And I'm going, I am 46 years old. I walk 4 miles a day. Now, I might have smoked some cigarettes every once in a while and I had a couple of drinks, but I was not going to have a heart attack. I was walking 4 miles a day. I just didn't make sense to me. But I kept saying it. He kept saying it. And he'd say it again. Now, you got to understand when you're working in the supernatural, that
Mhm.
was a supernatural deal. I was not aware that it was in supernatural, but a man talking to you on the TV is a little much. And
But
I'm looking.
your
If I'm,
body connected to it. Like
oh, yeah,
you
oh,
felt an energy through the TV.
yes, because I kept looking. I would look in my room and think, okay, he's got to be talking to somebody.
Yeah.
Then I'd look around, there'd be nobody. And I think, no, he's talking to me. And then you're having this conversation. Is he really talking to me? Or is he talking to me? No, he's
Hmm.
not talking. Is he talking to me? And then finally, after 4 or 5 times, he said, don't get a heart transplant. And I raised my hand, literally, and said, oh, I'm not going to get a heart transplant. I'm healthy. I'm 46 years old. I walk 4 miles a day. Blah, 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 blah. And exactly the next week, I'm looking at one.
Hmm.
What happened in between that
Well,
forced you to?
it's June the 2nd, 1998.
Mhm.
And what it was is it was the first day of summer break. And I had my younger son and three other students that were taking my classroom down. We were taking everything down. And I kind of partied a lot. I was so glad that year was over because why I had a heart attack in the first place was the nun and I weren't getting along because I was a Catholic educator. And she and I really did not jive. And I was very, and also I'm a convert Catholic. So I don't have the same kind of rules that they all have. You know, when she'd say something, she said, "You're a Catholic." I said, "Yes, but I am a Catholic because I chose to be a Catholic. And I was a Baptist before I was a Catholic, and you don't know the Bible as well as I do." And we would have these arguments, and I would argue with, even with the priests because they said, "You're just, because I wasn't following the rules. I was not, I was always a rule breaker. If you want to know the truth, I was always one of those. So I remember when I was feeling really sick. I mean, when I got there, I remember the kids were with me and I was excited about the summer break and but I kept having this pain in my chest. It was just weird. It wasn't it but what got my attention is I leaned over to my trash can and as I bent down, I just started dripping sweat off my
Oh,
body,
wow.
literally. And immediately, I've been a lifeguard. I was also a
Hmm.
water safety instructor. I knew all of the signs of a heart attack, and that was a heart attack. So I just leaned down and I thought, I'm going to go get, maybe I've got, because can't imagine 46 years old having a heart attack.
Mm-mm.
So
Hmm.
I went down and I said, I'll get a Coke. I'll be fine. It's probably got indigestion. And the
A
week,
reflex. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, acid reflux, because just 3 weeks before that, I was sent to the emergency room from my classroom because I thought I was having a heart attack. Now, what they told me when I went in, the ambulance came and got me. I mean, they came and got me while I was still in school, and they kept saying, I kept saying, don't let the children see me. Don't want the children, they said, it doesn't really
Hmm.
matter, ma'am, the kid's going to see you one. Because I was very much about, I want to protect our children. Ever seeing, if that, because
You're
I
a
was,
teacher. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm the big teacher, the one that has the sixth, seventh, and eighth graders, and they
Hmm.
knew me very well, and we were a very small school. So yeah, I didn't want to upset the kindergartners because they were out playing. And I remember the ER guy said, "Ma'am, it doesn't really matter. You're just," he said, "What were you doing that caused this heart attack?" And I said, "Well, I was diagramming English sentences." And he went, "Well, no wonder." Because I thought, because I was an English teacher as well. So I thought, no, that didn't bother me. So I
Likes
went,
parallel structure. Got to
yeah,
put it in.
I mean, I was real strict about the English, man. It was like you hit them really hard with that. And these were Catholic kids, so they've been raised in English because I was the English proctor. Basically, I taught everybody how I wanted it to be because we were such a small school. So I remember when we went to the emergency room, I came in. Well, I went to my house first because my older son. I said, "Well, just bring me in, to my son Brian." I said, "Just come and get me. I just don't feel good. Maybe I just need to go. Maybe I pulled something in my shoulder or something." And we had a hot tub. So when I went down to get into the hot tub, I lasted approximately up to my kneecaps, and I started vomiting. I jumped
Oh,
out.
wow.
We were in a hot tub room, so I could just walk right over, and I started vomiting. I thought, that is really weird.
Hmm.
Why would I be doing that? Because you just still can't imagine you're having any kind of problem like that. And I was not going to back to the hospital because they told me, if you come back again, you'll still swear up and down you're having a heart attack and you really have an acid reflux. And I thought, I am not ever going back. I'll wait. Well, after I got out of the hot tub, I mean, I didn't last, but like I said, 5 minutes at the most. I went on up to the third floor to my bed, and my two cats is I had two gray cats, and that was Ike and Tina, and they were just staring at me, and I thought, nah, they're acting really weird, and
Animals can tell.
oh,
They
they
can.
can, oh my god, and I had great cats. And they just kept looking, and finally, this voice said, "You need to go look in the mirror." And I thought, wonder what's going on in the mirror. I still felt bad. I walked in there, you all, and I have seen dead people. I
Yeah.
mean, my eyes were already behind and I thought, oh my God, I'm done. I was acid gray.
Yeah.
And the voice said, "You need to go to the emergency room now." And
Were
now
you still sweating profusely?
oh yeah, I was, I mean, I would already vomited. I'm
Hmm.
having these pains. it did. It felt like a snake, an anaconda, and an elephant. I mean, I couldn't breathe very well. So I thought,
Hmm.
if I just lay down and take a
Yeah.
couple of breaths, but I couldn't. I couldn't get any of the pressure in my. And I thought, there is some, in the cats, like I said. But when the voice said, "Go in there and look," and then the voice said, "You need to go now." I went down the steps to the second floor, and I told my husband at the time, I said, "We need to go now." And he said, "Well, I got the doctor on the phone. He's going to give you." I said, "We need to go now," like that. So we go, and you get there about 15 minutes. Now, we're still having acid reflux. That's what I feel. So I'm coming in, and I'm hurting. I'm thinking, okay, we're going to have to look at this again. I'm going to embarrass myself again. It is. I'm very
Hmm.
bad about going to a doctor anyway, or even to the ER. So when I got in, I remember the girl said, I said, "I'm having a problem. I think it's acid reflux again," like that. Now, my husband has left and gone and, parked his car. He's not anywhere. He said, "Well, I'll be out back in there later. I'm going to go." I said, "Okay." So when I got in, the woman, I thought, "Oh, they know me." She recognized me from the last week or whatever. And I thought, "Well, they really recognize me." They got me in real fast. I remember, because one of the nurses there, I went to high school with her, and she was a nurse, and she said, "What are you doing back?" Like that. And I got in, I said, "I just don't know." Well, they gave me that same stuff, and they went it to go down, but this didn't go down. It went straight out of my mouth and shot out into the wall, projected
Hmm.
out. And that's
Wow.
when everybody in the ER said, "This is a heart attack." And I went, "Did they say heart attack?" I mean, I started looking at heart attack. Who's having a heart attack? Me, I'm having a heart attack. That's when you literally come back down into inside your body, and I'm laying inside my body, but I'm also in my solar plexus, but also I'm sitting in the corner of the ER, and I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute. Now I've got science background, so that's not registering at all. But how? And I keep thinking, why can I see out of my solar plexus, and all of these people are working here, but yet I can see this person because I wasn't in my body. Even though you think you're in your body, doesn't necessarily mean that you're in your body.
Had you
So
gone into a cardiac arrest at that
yeah,
point?
oh
Okay,
yeah.
so you were in full arrest. Okay.
I was in full arrest, and I
Okay.
was still awake. They couldn't believe that I was. I mean, they couldn't believe how it took them 3 months. It took them 3 hours just to get me ready to go to Lexington to
Wow.
go. The heart cardiologist. Because they had to keep me very much settled down, and I'm still going, why are they acting like that? Why are they not talking to me? And I'm still out here in the body, and I'm not understanding how come they're not talking to me. That really makes me mad that they're not talking to me. They should be talking to me. I'm talking, but they can't see me the way I'm seeing me. They're
Hmm.
seeing me like this. And I mean, and I do talk to nurses and doctors for their face, especially. I said, "You nurses and doctors need to cut and watch your face, because if you all came in like that," I said, "you all scared me to death." And I said, I said, "It scared me so bad. I thought, am I dying?" Well, yes, I was. And I mean, I tell them, I said, "You got to be careful, because when you're out of your body," this is what made me really realize the importance of being in our body and the grounding that we have to. That's who I usually do, is I help people ground and learn how to really breathe. I didn't know how to do any of that, even though I was a swimmer. It's just different. So when they did get me in, I remember the emergency guy that came in, and they were getting me on the table and getting me ready to go to the ambulance. And as they were going in, I remember the guy says,
She ain't gonna make it.
"Huh?"
I bet he said you weren't gonna make it.
He said it. Yeah, he did. He said it to himself.
Yep.
And I
Well,
remember,
but you could hear it?
yes, I heard it. I heard every bit of it. And I thought, I am
Wait, wait,
really,
wait. So is this are you still out of your body at this point, or you're back in
I'm
your body?
really out. And when they
Got
put
it.
me on the stretcher, it brings you back in. But when
Okay.
I got in and they pushed me in, I was out going like this. Okay, now wait a minute. How's this work? Then he
Okay.
said it. He said, she's not going to make it. And I thought, that really makes me mad. He,
You're watching him say that to yourself.
yes. And I'm thinking, well, I talked to them all. Let them know, I was really upset with them because, first of all, I said, to the nun, what happened? It was my husband with me. Thank God he wasn't. And that'll explain to you later. She came in, the nun, she's intuitive like I am. She's no longer a nun, by the way. There's several nuns that are no longer as nuns after me. But she knew God told her, you need to go to the emergency room. She called my son, and my son said, well, she's at the emergency room, and she was told by God, you need to be there. So when I look up here, she's coming in. Ron's already gone to go get the boys because they said she's having a heart attack. Okay. And he's going to go get the boys. And then here comes my nun, she was my principal. And Marcia says, I'm coming with her. And I thought, oh, thank God, I'm so glad she's coming with me. But she witnessed all of this because she's very intuitive like that too. So when we went in, I got in and everything, but I remember thinking, why they got the lights off in the ambulance? That I've got a problem going on here. And I'm really going through it like I'm going to really give them for it. They're not doing their job. And I mean, the next thing though, by saying that, next thing I know, I'm running next to the ambulance. And I think that's not possible. I'm driving the ambulance, but I'm not in an ambulance, but I'm next to them. And I thought, that doesn't make sense. I remember I just kind of motored right up and I could see the driver of the ambulance. And I thought, how can I see him when I'm way back here and I'm there too? That doesn't make sense. It just
So
doesn't.
one thing I want to clarify here is you are not in your body laying on the stretcher having what is essentially an astral projecting yourself into the front seat. You're just there.
I'm just
So
there.
you weren't actively making this happen. This is happening to
This
you,
is
right?
happening exactly.
Okay.
The
And
only
it
thing
sounds like you're not really in control of the entire
that
experience at all.
no. There is only one thing you're going to get control of it because you're still lost in it. You don't even know that you've even done it. It doesn't make sense. This is what people don't. When you're in supernatural, it's not going to ever be logical.
Is that what you call that space, supernatural?
That is supernatural.
Got it.
I mean,
Okay.
I've done it too many times. I already know what supernatural is. I've been in the supernatural for a long, long time. I just didn't know that's where I was.
Okay.
So when you're in that, you're shifting in and out anyway through the different levels of consciousness. So you're in and out and back this way. And when I work with people, especially if I'm in the emergency room with them, I'm watching, make sure that they're staying in.
Mm-hmm.
Because once they're out, the doctors, they're not listening to anybody. They're
Mm-hmm.
somewhere else. So I've even told doctors and nurses, and doctors listen to me now
Mm-hmm.
because they know what I'm saying is correct. It's not what they think at all. You've got to understand there's symptoms that you show that you are going through that if you've never seen people going out of their body, you would, and I'll go just touch them and say, get back in. And they'll go back in like that.
Hmm.
I can see them come out.
Is that them actually the process of leaving? So there's what I'm trying to figure out here is you've talked about a bunch of different scenarios where there's an external kind of event that can either let you go out or it brings you back in. Now, if you didn't let them come back in, would they be lost then forever? That's them completely separating, right? And that's what.
No,
Okay.
a fragment. That would be a fragment. You're fragmenting out. You still have a part of you in there, but you fragment out. And this is where people, when there's trauma, this is
Mm-hmm.
what people that are traumatized, they fragment it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's why they've got, when I work with kids, especially if they've had a tragedy, you've
Yeah.
got to bring all of those fragments right back in. I had the best experience to go through what I've gone
Oh,
through.
let me ask you a question because I think that's a really important thing to healing. When you say fragment, is it something negative or something about the self? What is fragmenting?
Because you're so traumatized, your body, your soul and your consciousness can't handle it. So it separates you from immediately.
So you
Because
kind of go into a schizophrenia, is what you're saying.
no, No, no.
Okay. How would you separate those when you,
It's like it's things slow down.
okay.
Have you ever been in a car accident
Yes, I have.
and how things really start moving real slow? That's
Yes.
supernatural. You're
Okay.
not any longer in time.
Okay.
You're not in anything that you would even associate. I mean, I've been
Hmm.
in 5 car accidents and I felt every one of those every time I did it. And so did my other son.
Hmm.
So when you go into slow motion, that means you're really going quantum.
Mhm.
So going so fast that you feel like you're slow. So everything was really slowed down,
Hmm.
but that's why I could have all of those understandings of how I could be over here and then I could be over here because
Hmm.
did you
Virginia, this is so this is kind of fascinating because I'm trying to actually get the feel of supernatural versus science because I feel the more and more conversations we're having, and I love God, right? I love Jesus, right? Jesus is awesome. But the kinds of conversations we're having tend to deal with things like the conversations that we're having even now. Is it an actual amazing function of the brain to go beyond? So could you actually attribute what we're talking about to pure science and physiology and other things, or do you really think
Material.
there's something coming in extant to the natural laws that's actually doing this,
well, it is
Virginia?
the natural laws. You are talking about the 7 natural laws. They do exist. But what you're seeing is anytime you're going through trauma, people fragment. They fragment because they disassociate. And that's what you're going to use the word disassociation. Only reason why I say this is I've been almost
Hmm.
raped 3 different times.
Hmm.
And every one of those times stopped that person from hurting me
Hmm.
through the supernatural elements of who I am. I mean, it's I'm telling you, I saw it. I was 19 years old. I mean, I guess we better do the NDE because those are things that happened to me. They were more important what I saw that came through my body, the force of my body that could hold me up the way it did
Hmm.
with a man that hit me so hard at 19. I was a swimmer. I did everything. I was very massive, but I was still a small girl. But I mean, to hit me the way he hit me, and I saw stars. He turned around, he hit me so hard, I hit the other wall. But I was stunned. And I remember something came up through the tips of my toes and raised my body up off of that wall. And it raised me up, but it went after him and it came right at him, and I had my finger at him, and I said, you're going to have 3 girls, and every one of those girls are going to get raped just like you're getting ready to do it to me. And it scared him so bad, you all, he fell
Wow.
down on the floor.
That's a powerful thought. Yeah.
But let me tell you, see, I had a Jesus experience when I was 16, when I was
Hmm.
watching my father and my best friend dying. See, this is all these connections.
Hmm.
And I went to the church to pray in the 60s. You know, we had candles. Church was open by that time.
Hmm.
And nobody was there. I was praying for my son, my husband,
You're
my
yeah,
father, and my best friend.
yeah.
And Jesus walked off of that cross. I felt him walk down. It was at night. He just stepped out, went down to the other pew, came up to the pew, pushed me up at 16, grabbed me and said, I've already taken care of them. Now, a 16-year-old immediately thinks there's a miraculous healing.
Hmm.
It was not. They both died. So, what I did is I took a trip to hell because I didn't trust God anymore and I didn't trust Jesus. They were liars. So I went to college with hell on my mind. I wasn't of the protection of God. I didn't
Hmm.
believe in God anymore. But
Hmm.
yet, I'm having almost a rape situation, and something has opened me up to go after this man. So I'm a little girl at 19 still, and I'm thinking, okay, am I a demon now? I mean, I was scared.
Of
I
Hmm.
course.
thought, I'm,
Well,
I,
it's a supernatural experience. And at 19, I doubt you had any emotional capacity to go, is that not me?
Oh,
You
I
know?
was terrified of me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I would not say anything to anybody. I was afraid that I could kill somebody. And I'm serious. because I can tell you some of that stuff too. And I thought I could kill people. Well, it's always scared me until when I had the near death experience in 1998 when I was 46. That showed me, said, I was here, 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 and you've never been alone. I've always been there, but you turned your back on me. And I thought, oh my God, look what I've done. And we've all gone through this because we
Mhm.
go through this thought that, God is this way, but God's not like that at all. Our souls
Right.
are so much stronger and they have so much more understanding. My soul is very big and it will stand in its truth. I mean, I've stood up in front of shamans when I know that they're doing things that incorrectly, like sex, they're doing sex things. And my students are there thinking we're going to see ayahuasca, and I'm starting to see things that are not normal. And I'm thinking, no. So that's when I'm very hard to get along with when it comes to, you're not being rightful.
Your
Okay.
Well,
spirit
you
won't
have,
let
yeah,
you. Yeah.
you have the you've got the Saul's road to Damascus experience. You've got something that can't be taken away from you. And I love this kind of
Exactly.
angle we're on, because one of the things that you mentioned when you're being interviewed is that you lose your fear of death also. And that's a very powerful thing to lose that. But we've also been finding, and I'm trying to, we're always trying to bring parallels to things, right? How are we all connected? How is this all connected? Because we've done a lot of research on psychedelics, and you just talked about ayahuasca.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the things that we've seen some research on is that in Johns Hopkins, they've taken near death or people that are about to die, stage 4 cancer, and they give them massive doses of psilocybin.
Oh,
And
wow.
they actually weren't necessarily, they might have been agnostic or atheists. They even came back saying there's something out there that's greater, right? There's this love, there's this consciousness, and I've lost my fear of death. And I think what I'm trying to get by bringing all this in is we have a lot of um, I think a lot of ammunition, a lot of angles that can help us get through our lives. Yours happens to be a little bit more extant and kind of crazy. And I don't know if you'd want anybody to go through what you've been through to come up with the amount of knowledge and strength you have.
I don't
So I
know.
guess what I'm getting at is maybe it's too early to talk about this, but how,
No, I think this is time to talk about it. The only reason why I opened that up from Jeff's is I truly believe that we can do everything Jesus Christ told me.
right,
Mhm.
And he told me that. He said, it's
greater
there, little
things.
red, the little, all the red words right there. You can
Yes.
do the same thing. And he looked right at me and said that. And he said, so why are you not doing it? And he said it exactly like that. But he also changed into light in front of me. And that's the same God that I met was in plasma light. He was not a human. It's not anything. I mean, it's an intelligence beyond us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's beautiful. And I mean, you're humbled by it. I feel to my, how many times do you think I walk through my house and when I realize the Holy Spirit falls back on me, I fall down into my knees. I've been in the middle of motivational speaking and just drop down because you already feel that love is beyond words. There's no words put into that.
You have to surrender to it. When you were doing that motivational speaker, you had to surrender to what was happening right there. There was
Yes.
nothing, I mean, nothing else mattered compared to that kind of situation.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
that's the thing is most human beings start from the perspective that God is after me. It's been well embedded into virtually all religious systems. So that's the common narrative everybody has is God is out for me when in actuality God first begins with love.
but they
And
also make God look like he's a human.
yes.
Right.
They always make them in a religious background that
Mhm.
God looks like us. God does not look like us. In fact, I remember saying it. How come you don't look like us? If that's our image, then that's our image.
Because there is no image.
Because we
Yeah.
are light. We're quantum. Because see, I
Right.
have
We're
a
quantum.
background in quantum, in
Yeah.
physics.
Okay, let's shift a quick second in terms of let's dive a little bit into the quantum physics because that's one of my favorite subjects in terms of the unified field.
And I've been out there with quantum without any
Okay,
math.
How would you explain to one of your students? How old were your students?
Some of my, you mean in,
Seventh
Junior
grade.
high, right?
Yeah.
they're
Junior
in
high,
their
right?
40s. Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll be
So how, if you were to explain it to a junior higher, how would you define this, the unified field?
I would tell them to stand up in front of a whiteboard like I did when the last two classes that came in. I showed them what aura was.
A
And
whirl?
oh yes, I showed them
Okay.
how the aura worked, how the electromagnetic field is. I
Hmm.
said, you've got massives. And I stood there and sister said, I cannot believe you're going to teach them that. I said, absolutely.
You're talking about our aura that comes out of our,
Well, it's going to come out like this, but it goes down into the bottoms of your
into
feet,
your, yeah,
back
into the
up.
bottom.
Then it
Yes.
starts rotating, and then you've got
Hmm.
them going around this way, and then you got it
Hmm.
going up. You've got all kinds of things going on electrically as well
Hmm.
as magnetically. And when you're doing that, well, when I teach this, this is exactly what I teach how to use this because you're empowering people to of the light, not of the flesh. The flesh
Hmm.
is just the vessel.
It's the
You've got to learn
material.
how
Yeah.
to, this is the ship. This is the ship. You're laying
Hmm.
in your ship, basically, or
Yep.
I used to say I was laying in my coffin because you can feel the boundaries. I'm not
Hmm.
going to move that. And then, but once you learn that you can really move your body and you can heal your body and do those things, but it takes a lot of consciousness. You've got to get out of your mind that you can't not do it. I
Well,
didn't.
I think most people have a very hard time separating themselves from their ego's version of themselves because the ego wants to construct something that is bigger and better.
No, it's
And
been
the
trained. It's been programmed and
Yes.
right,
trained.
right, it's a
Oh, it is
program.
a training. It's a
Right.
training to keep you because I see people get sick when you take them down so far in the
Hmm.
lower consciousness up to the higher conscious. They get
Right.
sick and they get sick and they want to vomit and they want to do because you will go through froth because you have electrical currents that are going off and that will cause them to vomit, but it's not the same kind of vomit. It's froth. It's electrical. And when I
Okay.
see them first come into my house, I mean, I have some people who flew in, and this poor guy just stayed in my bathroom for 3 days vomiting because he wasn't being honest with himself. And that's a soul thing. And when he finally came out, he'd been here for 3 days, and he said, what am I doing wrong? I said, you're not telling your truth. And he was a homosexual and he wasn't willing to bring it forward. So he was getting sick inside every time we would touch something that would be even close to that or his secret, it would make him sick. This is how it works, guys. It's so simple and it's so easy, but we've made it so complex and it's so in our minds. And we've been so programmed to not, well, especially your mind has been so well programmed because it will stop you immediately if you're going to cut through some of those patterns.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Because I used to get massive headaches. When I started going down into my body, it would hurt so severely for 3 days and then it would be gone because I'd break the pattern.
Hmm.
And then all of the energy would come up and I would be even better healer because you're no longer enforced into a pattern that doesn't exist anymore for you. Does that make sense?
It does make
Yes.
sense. This Christopher Dr. Lee was talking about something like that. It's the idea of overthinking and the idea of our body physiologically doing
Hmm.
things that cause the stress levels. But we go through these loops again and again and again.
And it is
And
loop.
unless you lean
Hmm.
in and you dig in, it's never
And
gonna
you're not
change. It's
going to get
always
through.
gonna be very surface level. You're never gonna get to where you need to
That's
go.
it. It's surface level. You go, I've been down in my body so deep into my little toenails. And I
Hmm.
mean, my little big toe, I stayed in there for almost 3 months. And they said, that's not possible. Yes, it is. You don't even realize how much you carry information in your toe. You know, the body is
Every strand of DNA has everything it
everything,
needs.
everything that your soul
Yeah.
needs is
Yeah.
right there in your flesh.
Right. Right.
And all it's waiting for is you to raise it up and bring it forward so you can look at all of it. That's why Jesus came to me for 18 months and showed me I was with you. I was there, but you've got more going on than just me there. And I thought, really? And it's your
Hmm.
soul. It's the
Hmm.
spark of God that you have got already.
It's the
But
one
we
that
get,
gets in the way.
and when you've got you two hemispheres, they fight. You've
Yeah.
got the creative hemisphere and you've got the one that has been programmed and trained. So those fight all the time because you're fighting with your creativity. Once you've learned how to do, and I had to learn how to go in and really release all of that. And it took me years to learn to do that.
I need to stop us for a quick second. I'm going to do this so I cut it out. My wife just let me know that she has a call, unfortunately. And so we have a hard stop in 20 minutes. And I want to make sure that we talk about the Council of 12
Okay.
and what you do and a little bit about the journey. So let's see what
Yeah.
we can
Okay.
craft into this. I apologize, Virginia. I did not know about this, but unfortunately, I'm going to
You
have to.
can always call me back if you want to.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, her call is an hour long, so I wouldn't want.
Okay. No, that's fine. That's
But
fine. Just call me.
let's see what we can cram in. So let me start with this question then, because we talked about this. You shared previously with me that you met the Council of 12. Help me understand what that is and what function did it play?
Well, I didn't know much about the Council of 12 either. I had never heard of them either. I'd heard it later. But it was when I was coming through the ambulance, and I literally was riding on the side, and it felt like I had a ponytail at the top, and it was
Mm.
like somebody picked my ponytail up and jerked me up, and I went out. I went up, and I sat in a room similar
You
to this.
left your body.
It's like
I
Elijah
left.
or Ezekiel. So, one of
Okay.
them got pulled up by the
Yeah,
hair.
they pulled up by the
Yeah.
top of their head. And
Yeah.
that's what it felt like being pulled up. And I got pulled. I mean, it was like I was kind of dangling and and then just set me in a chair similar to this. And I mean, I kept thinking, I think I'm on a chair. Am I on a chair?
Were you conscious of an experiential body that was separate
No,
from the
there
one in
was
the
no.
ambulance?
Well, that's what started when Jeff called, checked me in because I said, they asked, do you see your body? I can feel my body,
Yeah.
but I remember thinking, well, you don't have eyes.
Yeah.
How can you see?
Right.
But you can see right up here. But
Mm.
I was sitting in this chair, and I mean, it had beautiful windows. I could see all the novas. I'd look about, oh, that's a,
Wow.
and I would see how things would. I thought, oh my, and then these voices would be in there going, hee, hee, hee. And I thought, are they laughing at me? That's my ego. Now there's your
Mhm.
ego. Think, why would they be laughing at me? I'm here. Where am I? I don't know who I am. Where am I? And I would be asking these questions, and there was no talking. It was telepathic.
Sure.
And they go, but they were in white robes with the hood over them, and it was golden rope. And I knew it was golden, and it was real tight. And they would just look at each other, but you'd never see their faces. But they would tell you they sounded like a choir, but sounded one voice at the same time. When you cross over, it's a different experience because you get both sides of everything. It
So,
was,
what are they? Are they angels, beings of light? What are the council?
I don't know who they are.
Okay.
I've been
But
there.
what function did they serve? Like, what was the experience? Was it they were trying to teach you something, or were they trying to
I was
help you
just
see
sitting there.
something?
I think I was part of them at one time. That's what I
Okay.
felt. When I
Okay.
went up one day after I'd had my near death experience and everything, and things were really getting nasty at my house, and
Hmm.
I just got out of my own body and I went up and I slammed on their table real loud and I went like that. And I said, I'm damn tired of you all messing with me down here. Now, either you get in it with me or you stop. I'm ready to check. And the next thing I know, everything moved differently. It shifted for me.
Okay.
But we have that ability if we will be able to understand how that ability is. But you want to make sure you want to do it on the divine level. That's why I said divine order, divine timing, divine plan, make it easy. We have never been told that we can make it easy. It's always been a struggle for my life, for my mother, everything you had to struggle.
Hmm.
So why are we always struggling? Because we believe we have to struggle. You don't have
Yes.
to do anything. You could go lay down in your couch or in your bed and you go into a meditation and you can create it yourself. And I've done it.
Okay, so how did you learn how to do that?
Stillness. You have to
Okay.
empty everything out of your mind. You've got to lose everything you were ever taught here in this plane, this dimension, because it's not right.
But
It's
how
all.
did you do that?
Emptiness, to empty your mind is
Yeah,
so.
I
Yeah,
had
it's
to empty
emptiness.
everything out. I had to empty. I mean, I remember now, this is how my higher self trained me.
Hmm.
They said, you're going to learn to watch that clock. And I laid
Hmm.
down in my bed and I had a water bed at the time. So I love my water bed because you can feel the energy. So I'm sitting there and I was looking and it said, always check the clock before you go in. Now, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, for the first 6 months, I said, oh, look at the cobwebs. Oh my God. Oh my Lord. Is my
I
housekeeper?
haven't dusted in a long time.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly. You start, and they'll go, no, 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 get back in, get back in, get back in.
Yeah.
And you're going like this, constantly shifting it. And then one day I just took a deep breath and I just kind of went down. I'd seen the clock. I went down. I thought I'd been in maybe 5 or 6 minutes. I thought, I came back in and I'd been out for 2 hours.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
And I went, where the hell did I go? And now you've got my, piqued my energy and or my thought. I'm driving in. So I've stayed in for 16 and 17 because you're not in. When you're in supernatural, there's no time. There
Mm.
is nothing that keeps you thinking that you're in time. You don't even know you're in time until you come out and you think, I've been here for 16 hours. I
But
didn't
at
have.
any point, did you lose connection to your own consciousness where you either went into a dream or sleep or you were fully conscious through the entire
Fully
experience?
conscious all the time.
Yeah, because
That
time doesn't exist outside of the material world.
No, this doesn't exist
Right.
outside. And and I mean that's why I knew about the flat Earth. That's knew but I could fly when I was a little girl.
Sure.
I was flying everywhere. My mother said, "Do not go to any more people's windows." And she thought I was crazy. But I said, they're having all kinds of problems over there. I would travel through the town and they just thought I was a kid that, was very, an imaginary
Lady
kid.
Bird. Yeah, you're talking about Peter Pan or other
Yeah,
kinds of things, right? Yeah.
I had experiences. I mean, I've had two drownings, and a light came in and saved me. In the first two, they took me off and took me out of there and said, "You're not going to drown. Go back home." Okay.
So, do you ever still talk to the Council of 12?
Uh-uh.
Are they part? No, not anymore. Do you
Now,
think that was you? Like, what's your interpretation of that experience in hindsight?
I think what it is I think it was just I think they are real. I do think
Okay.
they're real. I think they're just guides and then why they would call, because you got the council of three, you got the council of
Hmm.
six, you got all the numbers. So I always look at the numbers like 12 would be two and one is three. So you're
Hmm.
talking about the three. Three is a
Hmm.
much bigger deal than everybody thinks. People don't understand my numbers and they don't understand
Hmm.
how it really works. Until you really understand how the supernatural works, you'll never understand all the agendas that's going on anyway. That's
What is
why
that called? We had
Gematria. Or it's numerology.
it was
numerology.
numerology. Yeah. Are you a numerologist? Do you
I,
study
I'm
that?
not, but I had to watch. That's why you see 111. 111 would come to me, and when I was really
Hmm.
traveling and we would get lost, I'd say, "Okay, we're lost." And I just said, pull over because I always had somebody riding with me. I said, okay, we need to get quiet because this is some, and sure enough, a car with 111 would come right around. I said, follow that car. And they take us exactly where we need to go. You learn to listen to the universe is
Hmm.
going to teach you more than you'll ever learn down here. And I've got students that are teachers today, are teachers because of me. And when they heard my video about me criticizing the schools and what they were teaching, they were very upset with me because they said, you're one of the best teachers we ever had. And why are you saying that? I said, because you weren't taught right.
Hmm.
You weren't taught what I know now. And I said, and they're
Okay.
still angry about it. But you know what? We're going to all be mad. There's going to be a lot of people going to get angry when they start really understanding what they have done to our minds, to our souls, and to our abilities with each other.
This is people
So
waking up. It's happening. Yeah, it's happening right
yeah,
now. I mean,
yeah.
and you're starting to see, even with X, with Elon's thing, the narratives are being questioned. The grand narratives, Virginia, are being questioned, and it's a combination of technology that allows us to have more viewpoints that are in front of us, and there's something I think underneath, when we've been lied to enough times, where we've trusted the government to tell us the way things are, and we're finding out that's not real and that's not helpful. And
Oh, yeah.
conspiracy theories used to be like Alex Jones off the deep end, and now it's like, wait a minute, 72% of what is actually
Honey.
right.
I was a researcher. That's how I started,
Yeah.
because I kept saying, well, Margaret Sanger was what opened my door.
Oh boy.
Margaret Sanger. And then when I had to go
Founder
down
of
and
Planned Parenthood, Jonathan.
oh
Margaret
yeah,
Sanger. Yeah.
oh, Bill Gates, father, he ran it.
Oh my gosh.
You didn't know that? Oh,
No.
let's go get him. He's filthy.
Well, Bill
And
Gates is
all I
filthy.
do is what we have to do. This is all we have to do is we have to have a group of people that are strong enough to be able to override that. I've been working in Hawaii already. When I saw what they did to the Hawaiians in there,
Lahaina.
I immediately went in at 2 o'clock in the morning and I started talking to all the kahunas. And they're new kahunas, you all, and they do not have an understanding like the ancient ones. And they asked me, how do you know this? I said, because I know this. I was given this information a long time ago, but we've all got information. Everybody's got information. We just don't know how to retrieve it.
Yeah.
Virginia, what have you learned from having to hold information like that? Because it's a big responsibility seeing so differently. I feel that way all the time in my journey of learning about love. Like love, people just want love, but very few people really want to love.
Yeah, but they
And
don't know what
what
love is. First of all, they have
I
no
agree. I agree. I don't think they know what it is.
love and all that. Well, and I was under domestic violence the last 5 years of my marriage. I was married almost 30 years, and he had been molested by a priest.
Mhm.
And the dead priest is what came to me and told me that he couldn't move on. And
Oh,
that
this is your husband was involved in Boston. What was the name of the
no, he
movie?
wasn't in
No, he
Boston.
was in that group, not in the movie. Yes, he was
Spotlight.
The first group that
Spotlight.
we sued. We sued the first time they've ever had the church sued before, and we won over
It was
200.
Landmark. It was Landmark.
Yes, it was, and it was
Yes.
because of me.
Wow.
Because, yeah, it was because of me. Because the priest told me about it, and my family at that time, when I first came out into my near-death experience in 1998, I could see the trees, I could talk to the trees, I could talk to the grass, I
Mhm.
could take my hand and just tap into the universe and go, whoa.
It's like the Matrix. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not really about the matrix. Go watch the movie
No, the
Contact.
visual of
But
that
go watch
in the movie.
Contact. When she sees her father
Yes.
coming at her,
In
that's
Pensacola.
exactly what it looks like.
Yes.
Well, I knew when I saw it, I had a friend that said, you've got to go see this.
Oh, it's a brilliant movie.
It
One of
is
the most brilliant movies of all time.
you exactly the truth
Hmm.
because you don't need any technology to work out
Yep.
there.
Yeah.
And they gave them a technology. But I remember and same thing about Dr. Strange. When I saw Dr.
I
Strange,
felt the same way.
two very dear friends. They know me very well. And they said,
Hmm.
we're taking you because I have a real hard time going into the theater anymore because the lights and the sound knock me out of my body. And I end up spending most of the time up at the top of the people up there eating popcorn all the time. Because I'm up there and I think, how do I get back in? You have to learn how to get in as much as you how to get back out.
Virginia, but you seem very comfortable with being someone who holds that responsibility. Has it always been like that, or have you kind of grown into that?
I think after what I've seen and what I witnessed and the strength that I have, like when
Mhm.
you have, when a man comes down, he's going to hit you and he's going to try to rape you, and 3 times it can't happen. I know God is right there. I'm
You've
not
learned to
worried.
fight for yourself. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'm not really fighting anymore. My soul stands right up and you can feel me.
Yeah. I
When
think
you,
that's what
well,
Jesus said. Yeah. When Jesus, like, there is no droids, mixing metaphors there, but it's
yeah,
like, it's the capacity to say, I'm not having any of this right now.
No,
And you've reached that awareness, because
because
it
I'm
is awareness. It's most everybody has it, but you're more aware of that capacity to
I
use
know
it.
the strength that well, like when as you stand up in front of somebody. I mean, I had a 36-year-old girl that was attacking me at the age of, I think I was 56. And my partner, that Jeremy's watched me. He said, "Don't mess with her." And he kept saying it, but not to the girl. He's talking to the girl, to me. Said, "You don't know. She might look like she's 56, but you don't want to mess." And I just stood up and I just did my thing. And she backed off and she said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Don't ever talk to me like that again." And now he said, "But you've got that teacher voice." He said, "Everybody will fall for that teacher voice." I said, "Now she recognized immediately, don't you dare say that to my soul again, because I will not ever have anybody talk to my soul ever badly, ever again."
You've tapped into something that you watch the some of these martial arts experts like Bruce Lee. People weighed 140 pounds, but
Yeah.
the power, the chi energy that they had, were to be able to do things. Or the fact that monk lit himself on fire many years ago to protest the war, and he was obviously in a different place, right, where he was able to just
He
get burned
wasn't,
alive. So
yeah,
um,
he
it,
wasn't
it,
in his body. I can tell you right now, he was
correct,
not there. He was not present there.
yeah. Is there anything that you would suggest? I mean, you've absolutely, I want to keep talking to you. I want to have
No, you guys,
conversations with
hold on
you.
a quick second. My wife is coming up. Let me move to my desk. Okay.
Okay,
So give me 1 minute.
sure.
Can we just talk to you?
Yeah,
You
we can,
guys can keep talking. I'll
we
edit
can
all this out.
Well,
talk.
you really are. You have done some deep work, haven't you?
Who,
Me?
me? You mean
Right.
like meditation wise, or some
Yeah.
trans?
Really. Have you done that? Because I feel like that you understand it better.
I've been doing transcendental meditation since April. It's a little
Oh,
different.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Somebody give you a mantra?
I do have my mantra.
Now,
Yes.
let me tell you something. Did you pick that mantra?
Nope.
Wrong. Wrong,
Oh,
wrong, wrong.
I did pick the mantra.
You didn't pick that mantra, did you? Did you pick the mantra or did your master?
I did not choose the mantra.
That's right. You didn't. So that is not yours. That is his. And see, I will call you out on that. That's not yours.
Okay, well, I'm glad we're having this conversation now, because according to
To the,
Jonathan thinks that I've been doing something that's been very successful for me this year in terms of I can see you're agitated right now, so maybe we need to
well,
go down this
because I can't believe that you fell for a master.
that I felt
You
for a
don't have
master.
any master here. Go back to Isaiah 2:22. Place no faith with the man who breathes through his nostrils. You know anybody in here that does not have any nostrils?
Everybody in here has nostrils.
That's right. So you don't even have to atone to anybody here. They're not masters, they're human.
yeah.
Uh-uh. This is where you and I will jive, because you need to find that out within your soul what that mantra is. That's not yours.
That's correct.
I know it's not, because I work with people. I have to reprogram people from that.
All right. Well, I'm glad we had this conversation then,
Now go
because
in there and go and ask yourself, where's my mantra?
my mantra.
Yeah, where is my personal mantra? Where is it? You don't have one. Somebody's given you one. That's not God's. That's man. That's a master.
So let me ask you this. This is and we don't have to record this. We could record this, but I guess the question I have.
I'll cut it out if you want me to.
But
Well, you're probably going to make a lot of people mad because I'm telling you what I feel. I mean, you got to follow what you feel, but
oh
I know
no,
that.
I am absolutely. Listen, one of the things that's happened to my life is that I've had to realize that my head has been where I've been led. I need to go into my heart.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got to go back into your heart and you need to find out what your truth is. You need to do a session with me.
Let's do it. It's a date.
I will
I'm flying to Louisville.
you there. I'll take you there because you've got to find out who you are. You cannot expect anybody else to give you that information, but your soul, your spark. Why do you think my yogis go into India that they come back here and then they sit and talk to me and they say, how come you're so different in your spirit than theirs? I said, because you have a master there. I'm not going to be your master. I want you to find that within you. That's a different ride.
All right. So this is official. We're going to have a session. All right. And I don't know if if it would be better for me to fly there. I'll fly there.
Oh,
Otherwise,
fly in. I would love to see you come down because people fly in to stay with me for a weekend.
they stay in your bathroom for 3 days, clearly.
Yeah. Well, they won't. That was at the very beginning. My frequency was so high that it was really, but I have now understand after 20, I've been doing this for 25 years, guys. So I've learned a lot of things in the past, and I would never ever to sell your soul because I'm going to come back. It is going to come back to me.
Virginia, here's the beauty of what just happened is I know Rich well enough to know he knows it comes from love, and he's deeply wrestling inside right now
Mm.
on what to shift. He's not digging in his heels at all. He's very much that has been our journey this entire year, and it really culminated in this podcast. This is where we kind of explore it. And so I know inside he's very much chewing on it
But
because it's a shift because he was taught one way
yeah,
and then you're suggesting another way. And so
no,
there's that shift that has to be
it's
made.
still
You
just it's
learn what it is when he's definitely in. I can guarantee you that.
well. But what I'm saying is this: is the only one that shifts anything in your mind is you.
Mhm.
So when you are shifting it, you need to learn to get really still within yourself and let it shift on its own for the soul to shift it. Your consciousness cannot do that on a lower level. Only the consciousness of the spirit can.
Because the spirit is the one that starts with love
That
and
well,
says, you're worth it.
well, it's really when you say love, the word love doesn't even exist where I've been.
I agree because it's not part of the unified
That's
field.
not
The
that we
unified field is a co-join of any
remember.
dichotomy.
Yeah, but remember, I was an English teacher, so I sat down and I
Mhm.
started studying the English in a different way. We're not speaking English either. We're speaking spells,
Mhm.
spelling. Look at
Right.
all the things you've got things that are going on in your mind that you think you're right, but you're not because you don't have words. Words are flat. It's the energy behind the word that says it, or the
Mhm.
voice. The power of the voice is the most strongest thing you have. And then it goes right into the heart. Now, if your voice is not connected to the heart, this is going to sound much worse. So when you drop your voice down into your heart, there's a different voice, a different tone. So
I've
it's
experienced that.
yeah,
I can't make it happen, but I know what you're talking about.
yeah. Well, I can drop it down when I need to talk to somebody from the heart. I drop in and I looked at them, and I mean, I can raise my frequency high enough to where they'll shift.
Mhm.
And we are shapeshifters. We're doing everything totally different. I mean, I can't believe that most people haven't caught on to it, but I've been doing it for 25 years.
I
And
think
What is
it's got to be a collective consciousness. Maybe it's happening now. I mean, there's people that are always ahead of the game. Virginia. I think in terms of you're already an iconoclast, right? You're always you're breaking. You're a breaker of idols. You're not a rebel. Maybe you are, but
yeah, I'm a rebel.
yeah.
That's
And
I'm
so
a
I think
rebel.
it's fair. I mean, we don't want to be sheep, right? I think nobody wants to be a sheep, but at the same time, also don't want to be the lone wolf out there, you know, not knowing everything. And maybe that people want to be in that
Well,
halfway space.
but I was a sheep at one time
Yeah.
because of the programmings that I was in my house, and my mother being afraid, and my father watching my father die. And I literally saw him from the age of 11 to 16, watch them kill my father. And
Yep.
I have a real problem with the medical field. I have a problem
Mhm.
with people about death because I was 16 years old screaming in the University of Kentucky at their medical facility, yelling at their, we need to do something with this. What are you doing? They didn't want to talk about death. They didn't want to talk about life. They didn't want to talk. They just wanted to get it done. And I recognize that. And I had a problem with death. And I remember when my father was dead and he was going down in the ground, and this little voice said, I will never love another man like this again. And I
Mhm.
meant it. And those are things right there that block you right there from a child's point of view. Do you know I worked with lawyers? I was a profiler for lawyers. And it was like having 6th grade, sixth grade boys in ties and suits acting like they were adults. And I would say to my the man I was working with, he said, "How do you figure this out?" I said, "They're easy. They're just." I used to sit in a room and I'd take all the notes, and then I'd go. Then we go out, and I said, "You're going to have to change it over here to get the energy here to get the energy over there. That guy's lying," and that's how I worked. He said, "How do you know that?" Well, he wanted me to go to a law school, and he said, "Why don't you teach this in law?" I said, "Because they don't want me to teach it in law." I can't hear you.
Sorry, I had myself on mute. Um, you can't. The law eliminates passion. It's a purely mental assent towards love, but it can never get to the frequency of love because it's always placed in logic. It cannot add the dimension of the heart. So it's always going on here. And it's why it doesn't satisfy.
Well,
It's
but it
it's
was set
impossible
up
to.
by the world demand.
What's
That's
that?
it's set up by the world demand.
Well, it's a
It
masculine system. Yeah, it's a purely masculine system.
Well, and it also goes all the way back to the Middle Ages. I mean, they knew exactly what they were doing when they didn't have scribes. Let's go all the way back to the Egyptians. I've
Mm-hmm.
worked with the Egyptians. I've worked all the way back through there. I've been with Atlantis. I know a lot of my stuff that I got to
Yeah.
see, and I messed up a lot of things, you all. I did
Well,
some
that's
really
part
bad.
of the journey is the discovery process. I think that's the thing that I enjoy the most about following Jesus is that I get to start with grace. Like when you realize the immensity of this journey, you get to start with grace. And that allows you to have all the failures you need to learn to get to a good state of awareness to
You know
realize
what grace really is?
what's that?
When you say grace, you said the word grace. What does grace
Mhm.
really mean?
Grace to me is the personification of both sides together. It's the reality of the duality. It's the recognition that in the unified field, there's no disconnect because it's a both and. When you get into the material world, you have a either or, and we tend to choose either or.
But you're
And
very much in your mind.
oh, totally. I'm dominated by my mind. I have.
Yeah, and so that's the thing that because when you're in your mind here, to me, what grace was is
Mhm.
when I really recognized that God loved me deeper in my whole beingness. And it
Well, that's
was,
what I was trying to communicate. I think that's the difference. The feminine is always describing in terms of feeling, and the masculine is describing in terms of
I
seeing.
disagree with you on that. I disagree because when I was looking at it, I was experiencing it through the love of God. That
Yeah,
the
because you
grace
were in the supernatural. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's where grace is in the supernatural because we're saying grace. But I would ask people every time, what does grace mean? Well, I really don't know what grace means. Well, yeah, I do. It's how you feel good when you do something really, really
Mhm.
good and you've done something well and you know you've done. You don't tell me that's not grace. That's grace. Every time I would find something in my heart that I recognized that I was against myself, it would open my heart even wider to feel the healing go through my body. That's grace for me. It's a whole different experience when you're thinking
Oh,
it
so
than
I actually wrote this down on my walk the other day. This is what I wrote. Grace is the space of compassion that leads to responsibility.
that's one you need to use. It's more simpler and it's exact.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that I'm dominant. I'm a masculine man. I grew up with male mental dominated. That's kind of that's the thing that we talk a lot about. Is gender
I was
is
very
this?
masculine,
What's
John.
that?
I was very masculine. I was a
Oh, I
masculine
believe it. Yeah,
woman,
you're.
but I didn't know what that was because my father was not
It's
here.
energy. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not gender. It's energy. That's how I now experience it. Is that
that's okay. Let it go.
so? The masculine is bent towards responsibility,
Uh-huh.
and the feminine is bent towards compassion.
But see, when you go out of this realm,
But exactly.
you don't
In
have,
this material realm, yes, because
you
we're
know,
always living in the dichotomy.
It's
yeah,
duality,
because
of
I don't
course.
live
Yes,
in,
it's duality. Yes.
and the only reason why Jesus Christ came to see me in the first place
Hmm.
is to show me that that's not who he is,
Hmm.
because that's not who I am. That's not who you are. We have really taken on this thought process of that's who we are. We're not this at all. And you can move in and out because I can walk. I mean, I have a window right there and I go through that window on a daily basis. And that's what I was dancing with God up there. And that's when I came back down and that I met Jeff. And within 15 minutes, I've got 465,000 friends that I didn't want. You want to understand? I have clients. I have plenty of clients. So we were just laughing. I thought, wow, boredom is not what you want to go to God with.
No.
And but I was dancing. I was, oh man, I think we need to do something. I'm a little bored. Let's do something. Now I'm saying this. I walked right out, and now my body's sitting right here in this chair because I can turn around and see my body. But I was out there dancing in the universe with God, and I said, I think we need to do something a little, spice it up a little bit.
Hmm.
Just spice it up. Yeah.
Virginia, how do you help people?
Well, they would that comes in on each individual case. I'm
Okay.
going to have to read their soul. Their soul
Mhm.
will tell me exactly what, and they'll tell me exactly what they need. They're not going down deep enough. They're not willing to listen to this, and that's what I do. Is I start there. And sometimes people fly in here for a weekend and they completely shift out totally because you've been sitting in my energy for over 48
Mhm.
hours,
Right.
and that's a whole different ball game. There's a lot
See,
of people.
I'm just learning to do that. I have become aware of my capacity to project energy and control the room only about a year. And it's a really weird experience because I don't think I have in any way mastered it, but it happens when I participate in it. I can't control it. And it's a very weird experience to elevate energy in a room.
Well, when I was a motivational speaker, the way I was, I had to raise everybody up to my level because they would never heard me. That's what you saw on the second video because they couldn't hear me because I'm talking so fast because I'm on a different frequency than they
Mhm.
were. And it was very obvious that I was way on the second when I knew when I told Jeff, I said, this is going to be different for them. That's why they've been really nasty and they've been saying, because they're not on the same frequency. And when you're out of your own frequency, you immediately do not feel it. Yeah, I feel it. What I do is I just start raising the frequency up for me because that makes everybody equalizing in there.
So my
Good.
question has to be thinking of the Israeli Hamas conflict right now, where there's clear division, right? There's lots of division all across the America right now, right? We see it. It's in politics, left versus right. How do we come to
But
this
they're
place?
Jesuits. It's
What's
the
that?
Jesuits. It's the
Jesuits?
Jesuits. It's the Jesuits.
They're to blame?
You've never had, go do your research on the Jesuits.
Well, I know that they're tied into the Rosicrucians very likely in the
They're all
Illuminati.
they're all a part of this, and so is Israel. And if you look at Israel, that is ISIS. It's not even that's not even a nation. And Trump was involved with that. And when they do that Israel thing, that drives me right over the edge because that's just another one of the wars that they're going to use on all of us. And that's in the Bible, but that's not the same Bible.
So we don't break through. We don't try to figure out a way as humans to get in there and help bring people to be unified. We just have to let it do its own cause.
Well, first of all, if they are they in your backyard? No.
Nope.
Are
They
they
could be.
anywhere close to you?
There's
No.
news people think that people coming across the border are actually sleeper cells because they're young 20-year-old unaccompanied
That's
males.
called fear.
Okay.
That's called fear. They know how to use fear. They're programmers. They know exactly how to cause all of this. Also, they know how, like my father. Let's go back to World War II. I went because I've done all of this. I've done every bit of it all the way down. Every bit of it is from the control for we to be in fear so they can run us where they need to run us.
I
And
agree.
when I saw the pandemic, I started telling all my clients, do not buy that. Do not get into that shot. Do not do that. That's going to have this, and this. I did it. I even told them about ivermectin because I was a veterinarian specialist. I worked with horses and dogs. I knew about ivermectin. I've known about it. And I said, it's parasites. We're all under parasitical uh, invasion. And they know exactly what they're doing. Because in the 60s, we had to have a parasitic medicine every 6 months. Now, I wonder why all of a sudden that changed. Think about what they've done.
Yeah. They've
Now,
done
one thing they did that my grandfather did to me, and this shocked the hell out of me, but was this. When I was about 7 years old, and this was in Hartford, Kentucky, a very small little town, even more so than mine, and they had gotten a slaughterhouse, and that was a big deal. So he thought it would be very interesting to have his 6-year-old granddaughter to go to the slaughterhouse, and they shot a cow in front of me.
Oh God.
I cut my third eye off completely. And
Yeah.
those are tree dendrites. Go back and look at that because that's a dendrites. That's the ones that get sawed off just like lumber. That's trauma that causes that. So when you understand trauma, then you understand how to recreate the current electrical currents to bring that back up in the third eye. And this is what I studied. This is all electrical, all magnetism, and I learned how to maneuver it, how to move it over, come back down, get it through my body.
And that's why you
Virginia,
do
how
Reiki, right?
Well, I'm a Reiki master, but I don't do Reiki anymore because it's so
Okay.
much higher consciousness. It's a much
Okay.
bigger. But now that was a master in that, and that was a thing that kept saying, "You fix we." It kept tapping into my head, and I thought, "There's somebody in my head." And it's these little. They said what they were Reiki, uh, what Reiki, something Reiki, and I thought they shouldn't be in my mind. That shouldn't be. So I immediately took all of the symbology because I knew all the symbols and I moved them. I left them, I put them out of my body. You got to be careful with what you're seeing and what people are telling you. Just like when you got a mantra. I would never let anybody in in my body like that unless I knew them really well.
Well,
Because you don't know. And you've got magicians, honey. You got black magicians that are better than you'll ever understand.
well, I think it's fair to say the person who taught you that is fairly safe. But I
Mhm.
understand what you're saying is ultimately you want your own that you come up with because
Yeah,
that's
that's
yeah,
your soul. Your
right.
soul is going to be the
It's your
one that,
soul telling you that sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it will talk to you, and your organs will talk to you. My heart talked to me when my heart was so damaged. I said, "Why?" I was so angry because I was very healthy, and it said, "Well, I did it because I didn't want you to get upset. You were just stuffing. I just stuffed it all into your heart, and I thought you stuffed it in my heart, and it felt like a ticket, that you have at a shop that you have those little tickets
yeah, you
you buy."
pull the number,
Yeah,
right?
well, that's what it felt like. And I just went, "Well, then take them out." And I went thinking, and it just ran. And I did. I went, "Ooh." And I thought, what was that? And it said, "That's what you've been holding on to." It
Wow.
ripped it off. I saw it. But I've seen things come off, pull it off. I've seen my face change. I've seen myself go in the mirror. You all need to do mirror work. That's looking right at your soul. Look at your aura. Learn about your aura, the electromagnetic field, whatever you want to call it. I sat and studied it because everything in there tells you exactly what you've gone into, what you are expecting, and what diseases you're going to bring in. It's right there. And the colors make a difference. You know, I don't see chakras anymore because that is so much that's small. This is so much bigger. When you're out there, it doesn't really matter. I just could go in and figure it all out.
Virginia, how would you define trauma?
Well, trauma to me is anything that shocks you out of your body to the point that you can't even recover.
Mm.
It's a
Yeah,
recovery.
that feels right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
because you
feels
can't
similar to what
recover.
I was thinking.
There's fragments that are missing, and when
Mhm.
I work with children with and I work with kids that have been traumatized badly. And so when I work with them, I've got to teach them how to do this. But the minute they learn how to ground and breathe, we don't have any problems because they now know they have power and they have control of that power.
And
So
consistently, they can go back to it again and again, and they know they know it in their being.
that's exactly. And when I teach children, when I have kids, well, high school especially, they'll still bring kids to me. Mothers, they say, "No, we're going in to see Jenny." They're not kidding you, right? And so I just start working with them, and they're bad kids. They say they're bad kids. There's not a bad kid. They just are not they're misunderstood. They didn't know how to work that. They're too small in their mind to think what's really going on. I remember a kid came in, and they were going to send him out of high school, and the mother brought him here. And I sat down and I said, "You're a sensitive. And this is what's going on to you." I mean, because I want all the sensitive children. They need to be coming to people like me so we can start training them now because they're being ripped to pieces and they're sensitive. I'm a sensitive.
Are
So
you
I
saying
don't
like Shining, like we're like in the movie The Shining, that people are able to sense stuff like that clairvoyance, and more in tune with it?
I
Yeah.
tell it better than I mean, I knew about it much better when I was younger. I
Well,
knew
yeah,
all things. Yeah,
you're
I
tapped
knew
into it. Yeah,
because you're innocent. And
correct.
when I was
Default mode
molested,
network hasn't kicked in yet. The default mode network. Yeah.
yeah, but I was molested at the age of 7. Now, how it was, I wasn't penetrated, but the shock of his penis and what he was saying to me, shoo,
Yeah,
gone.
doesn't
Fragmented.
require penetration. Yeah, it's
It,
just
you don't have, and I have to ask children a lot of times, were you physically touched? No. And then they just dismiss them. No, you can feel like you've been molested
right.
just energetically. And this is where psychologists and social workers do not do understand this. I do work with them, telling them, you better understand how to do this on a different level because this is really the truth.
Yeah.
So I have a real, because I've been a social worker and I've
Hmm.
been a teacher, and I can see where both sides are not, they're not right. They're not correct because they're still not treating what they need to treat. And that means they have to find the child's soul. We have to penetrate the soul. You're not going to ever get through the flesh until you get to the soul. And that's why they don't. Why do you think they want the soul so bad? Why do you think they all right, this I had a young man that was Mormon. He came in, he was doing a documentary on me. Now he never met anybody like me. Okay.
There's not many people like you,
No,
Virginia.
there isn't, there's not very many. But he was like thrown, he was autistic. He has on the end of autism. And so I looked at him and I said, and he was having problems with pornography. He was having problems by masturbating. And, I don't have any problems with it. I deal with this kind of shit all the time. So, murderers, everything, after you go through it, it's like, okay, let's see what that's all about. So I was looking at him and he said, I can't talk to you like this. I said, honey, I'm a professional. So I started, but you know what I had to do? I grounded him and I showed him how to breathe. He hasn't had any problems with pornography or anything else. He's been scared to death because he's not grounded.
Mhm.
Now, we were talking. I said, I want to ask you about this because this is when the Israel came to the Mormons. Did you know about this lawsuit?
During the reign of Zedekiah, the Mormons came across the Atlantic and set up shop. Well, the Jews set up shop here.
When they took all of the Jews in World War II and they took all their souls and they put them in their temple in the
What?
Mormon.
Oh, they baptized them on behalf of them. They
They
baptized
put
on the
them in
dead
their
on their
temple.
behalf.
They put them in their temple. You got to understand, they've got a temple. They went into their temple and they took every name of every soul that was Jewish in World War II. They put them in their temple. Now, then the Jews came in and said, we want our souls back. Now, why in the world would they be fighting over the souls if they weren't a big deal? It's us, our souls. They don't care about our flesh, guys. They care about our loosh. That's that's what they want.
What is loosh?
Loosh is what they use energetically. They take your essence, and I've sat and watched them
Okay.
do it.
There's a movie that's done something similar. I can't
Like
remember.
all your movies, those 3 years that I had, I took all the time and watched every agenda on
Mhm.
every movie that I'd ever witnessed from the age of 11 all the way up to here.
Well, they're putting it in front of us already. If you actually look at the Matrix, 9/11 is on Mr. Anderson's passport. It's right there. I mean, all this stuff
On
is all being
Rockefeller
done.
in the 60s. He's got a book, I think it's a magazine, it has 9/11 on it.
I
That
know
was in
exactly what you're talking about.
you not understand this. These people know what they're doing. They've been
Mhm.
doing this for centuries, but they don't want us to wake up because let me tell you, if we wake up and they're like me, that'll scare the hell out of them. Because
Well, yeah, it eventually can't win. It's a
well, it's
very
not,
small group of people who
they can do a lot.
ultimately have no love. Yeah.
We've got a lot of people that have look at everybody. I never thought the people my age would have gone to the pandemic. They all rode in as fast as they could. We've been programmed not to do that. We went into yellow journalism. We had nuclear war. They were used in the 60s big time. And then you got all the Beatles stuff. You've got everything that the CIA did to us. Everything. That's my cat's hair. You got to look at all of this. I've done 25 years of this research. And when I got into the Jesuits, because I kept thinking, how can this work? Why can people be this mean and just take out people the way they did, like 9/11, or go into Turkey, or go into Iran? How can they do that? Because they don't have a soul. And who they honor is the Pope. And since I was Catholic, I know the history of the Catholic Church. And I went to the Catholic priest at my parish and said, "You have a Jesuit on the seat of a pope that should have never been there, and it should never been there for 6 years, 600 years. It wasn't there. How come we got one now?" I looked right at him. I said, "You are a Jesuit, aren't you?" And he wouldn't answer me
Hmm.
because he knows. And I mean, he knows when I went after him because he wanted me back to the Catholic Church. Wrong
Have
person.
they always been bad? Even with Ignatius Loyola, always from
Yes,
the beginning, it's always been bad news, huh?
Constantine was a pagan. Get. They're druids. They're magicians. I've been to England. I know exactly how it works down there. And that's what I'm saying. That's why they don't like me to be into a situation. They don't want me around, especially that shaman. When they saw that I could see what they were doing, I sat and watched a man take the essence off one of my students. He walked right over to her and she went, and she went into a limp. And I went right after him. You know what my higher self told me or spirit told me? Give it to him free because they want to steal it. They don't want anything to give it free. So I just walked all around and said, "Here, take it, take it." He said, "No, no." He ran. He left.
I
Why?
won't.
Why would my higher self tell me that when it put me under danger like that? Because God knew better than them, and they know that.
Hmm.
And when they found out I was a seer, which when they see that I can see the things better than them, that's when they leave.
Yeah.
I will take care of the children, and I'll take care of people that are being mistreated or not taken care of. But I will not. Now, some of these people that are coming in to see me, that they're desperate. I said, if you're desperate, you don't need to be me. I don't need desperate people. I need people who are courageous. And the only reason why that video is gone the way it is because I'm courageous enough to stand up for my truth. Got anybody out there talking like that about Jesus? No, I didn't care what they thought about me. I know what I am and I know who I am. When you know this, guys, you don't have to worry about that bullshit anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm very at peace with me. So
What
that's,
do you think happens after we leave this body permanently? Because that will eventually happen. What do you think happens?
I think you just,
Do you
you're,
think it's karmic where it continues to repeat until you let go, or
I think
it's just
karma's
one and done?
here. I think, well, my father made it very clearly. He said, hell is here, Jenny.
Oh
It
yeah,
is. That is true.
yeah,
Hell
it
is here.
is.
Here. And I had to really look at it because I've been in hell. I told you at 16, I did not have God anymore and I did not have Jesus anymore. And when I walked through, I mean, I saw some really crazy things in college. Let me tell you, there was a lot of drugs. I wasn't doing any LSD. I did marijuana. I still like marijuana. I think
Good
it,
for you.
but marijuana, let me know the reason why, because I work with people that have been trafficked. And then you know what the first thing they said? They would never let them have marijuana because it breaks the patterns. Why do you think?
And negatively or positively? What do you mean by that?
When you break your patterns, when you go in such a deepness, you can pull all those patterns out. They don't exist anymore. You can go through. So I do brownies, but I don't go in like stoned. It's not the same kind of thing. I was stoned in, the 70s. It's not like that here. It's the narrow road, guys. You're talking about left and right. Why don't we look at here in the center? That's the narrow road is right in the center. So you've got to have both sides, and you've got to be here in the
Mhm.
center. That's the narrow road. That's the Bible.
It's a great metaphor. I really like it because it we were talking about this, that life in this world is experiencing polarities of, good and evil, or whatever the polarity is. And we had a guest on who was a nihilist of all things and said, I want to find the space between a Christian and a nihilist that meet in the middle and understand we're almost exactly the same but slightly different. But that space is where connection can happen.
I
Because
think she
that's
came out of
what love.
nihilism, Jonathan. She spent some time in
Has,
nihilism and she kind of came out of it a little bit on the other side, almost deconstructed out
okay.
of it. But yeah,
I,
but in many
but it's
ways,
that space,
journey.
that's that thin line between the dichotomies, because
But
this
you'll know
is simply a dichotomy. That's all it is.
that you'll never
And I
get
like your idea of in the middle, right? That center
the
line.
narrow road. Go read the Bible. The Bible is exactly what I said. There's a Bible within the Bible. And once you're walking through the Bible every day, the Bible is real. It's alive. It is the real deal. And so think of all of the instances you've had today that would not fit into the Bible's lessons today. Just us. We're triangled ourselves in. We've got a triangle going on. Okay. Now we've got me as a point because you two are on the base. So if I'm the point, what are you asking me to do for you?
I'm not sure I'm following you.
Reveal to us what we already know.
Well, if I'm the point, you got to look at a triangle. So you all still think in words. I want you to think because I did a geometry out in the universe because you don't need mathematics. Mathematics is because it works down here. But feel okay. If you can you feel the triangle
Yeah,
between?
I'm
Okay.
I'm I'm envisioning it. I can feel it.
Okay, I want you to feel it. Don't visual it. Feel it. Can you
Yeah,
feel it?
I can
Can
feel
you
it.
feel my heart? If I'm point, I'm putting energy through your all's heart. Can you feel it?
Yes.
Now, that is all I need to know about a Christian and a man or another person. That. Why do we even have to
Well,
have
that's the resonance. Yeah.
no, it's that is it. This. This is all God ever asked us to do is this. Not talk. Go back in the Bible. If you're talking more than yes or no, you're out already. It's right there. It's so right there in your face what the Bible's telling you. We speak too much words, too much in the mind. I mean, I used to have a vocabulary that was beyond. And I used to use it a lot for, people that really irritate me or bitch me out or something. I was going to use my words. And I mean, you can cuss them out and they'll go, and then you're thinking, but who did you win, really? You have a grin on your face thinking you didn't even know what the hell I was talking about. But that when I had my strokes, you all, I went to 2 strokes. I have 2 strokes, did not go to the hospital on either one of them
Mm.
and did it myself. But spirit did it. Said, you need to learn to do this. I had to learn how to move. I had to bring everything because it was it was bleeding. I bled all the way
Yeah.
down between my ankle. I felt it. And I was with a client. And she said and watched me walk out of my body, go back out of my body, come back in and come back in and got back in again. She said, I saw it. But that's why I said, my friends that have been with me, they said, everything she says is right. She's been with us because I see things differently. Like I go to the ley lines. I can go out and find every ley line that we need to find out because every church in Italy or in Europe, they're all on ley lines. Those are generators. They're taking out our generators. You all better wake up because they're doing it.
What lines?
The ley lines, Ley, ley lines. That's where they're going through all of that while you did the globe thing.
That's the telluric. You're talking about the telluric currents underneath that are tapping into that. That's what dolmens are. That's what the Eiffel Tower is. They're all kinds of
They're all
antenna, if you would. Yes.
They're generators. And that's why they're trying to get them out.
It's all coming together. Travis would love to talk to Virginia. This is all about. Have you ever heard of a book called Foucault's Pendulum? It's by Umberto Eco.
Yeah.
He talks all about this, but he comes at it from an agnostic standpoint, thinking that this is all a bunch of the conspiracy. The actual Jesuits created the conspiracy so that it would seem to be that, as opposed to, yeah, they're in charge the whole time, of course.
Majorly because they're magicians. And I mean, listen, why would a lady from Dubai come to visit a woman from Kentucky? Why would she want? Because she wants me to come to Dubai because she is a part of the Rose Society. You know what the Rose Society is?
The Rosy Cross, the Order.
Well, they're not there. Well, that's not. They're part of that, but they wanted me to come in so that I could help them. I don't need to go to Dubai. Those magicians knew exactly what they were doing. They put a desert into a city. Come on. I mean, I know the magicians. I've met them, and they're good. They're so good that they almost caught me a couple of times because I can go to DC and I've taken a group of people out of their body to DC and I had to take them back because we had somebody waiting for me at the portal. They knew that we were coming in. There's so much stuff going on in DC and I have boots on the ground everywhere you can possibly. All I have to do is call a client and you need to go over and I want you to see if this is true. If we don't start listening to truth, finding out the truth, then we're going to be lied to on and on and on and on.
Virginia, do you think that spell can be broken?
Yes.
Do you think there's the idea of the age of Aquarius, which is a shift from the masculine to the feminine. Do you think that that's going to happen in our lifetime, or is it just going to gradually roll out?
I never thought I'd be this long. I thought I'd be dead by now. I mean, I just had that heart attack just a year ago, October 3rd.
You're still here.
I'm still here. And well, they couldn't believe it. I mean, I walked out 24 hours later.
But do you have a sense of why you're still here?
Because I'm not finished.
Yeah, clearly.
But do you understand like what's not finished, or you're just waiting for it to roll out and you're comfortable? Because I think that's a healthier approach.
I don't worry about anything but what's going on right now. Because right now is the only thing you can change right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the past, and you'll hear me say this if you're in the past, you're already gone. If you're in the future, it doesn't exist. So where are you going to be right now? Because the only power you have is right now. That's why I said when people come together, we need to be in this together. But you can be all over the world. But if we all know how to connect, and you do, I mean, I know how to connect. I connect to everybody in my clients. I could be anywhere I want to be. All you have to do is get out of your own mind. And most of the people want to know how to do it. And I said, all you have to do is start watching your name. I mean, daydreaming. Think about how many times you daydream.
Mhm.
All the
You're out of
time.
your body, aren't you? You're not in your body. You're not in your mind. You're out here. I watch kids do that all the time, especially in the spring. When my sixth and seventh and eighth graders, all those little, kindergartners out there playing, and I'll sit there and I'll watch them, and they're gone. They're got their bodies exist, but their minds are out there playing. So I have to go, come back to me, come back to me, come back to me. And and sister, we used to say, why do you do that? I said, because they're no longer there. And I knew that because I didn't have to die to know that, because I used to be out all the time. I lived most of the time out of my body. So
What
yeah,
do you do? What do you do when you live out of your body?
go out and dance with God and get bored. That's what happens to you. You got to be, you know,
Mhm.
I have I have hundreds and hundreds of cards out, and when I'm really bored, I'll just say I'm calling all my cards in, and people will call from all over the world. And say, my God, that was so weird. Have you calling cards? Because that's what they know when I say I'm calling cards, and they'll say that card just fell right in the floor. I'm calling you. Because I've told them, I said, if you get a message from me, call me. And I get them.
Well, okay. Here's an interesting question for you, because I think that's quantum entanglement.
It
That
is.
at an energetic level, we're all quantum entangled, but
So,
not everybody has the phone up to their ear.
well,
How do you become a person that puts the phone up to their ear?
by them coming here, me teaching them how to ground, balance, connect. It's ground,
Mhm.
balance the heart, and connect to the universe. And then
Mhm.
expand yourself and you move everything out. It's just like three pillars. One goes this way, one goes this way, one goes this way, one goes back there. So then you have all the space. And then you run the energy of space through and you're free.
When you
Bound.
talk about grounding, are you talking about literally like being barefoot on the ground? Or are you talking about doing things that
Well,
get
I'm
that
talking
reverberate
about
with
you
your
go
bone
all the way
structure?
down into the earth, and Mother Earth will grab you, your energy field, and take you right down to the center, and she'll anchor there. And then you use her, then you'll pop back up, you'll come straight up, and you'll anchor yourself up into the universe because you're the link between God and the earth.
Is it more than just actually going to the beach and tapping into the beautiful sand and soaking up the sunset, or is there something more intentional that you
Nope,
can
that's
tap
it.
into?
That's it. It's
That's it.
simple.
Yep.
It's very, very, there's not, I remember when I was studying Reiki and I could think this is too complicated. When you cannot do it yourself, I just would look at it. And that's what I did is that's how I studied my body is I had all the anatomy books. I had hundreds and I sit down and I'd look at them and I think, okay, how would that feel? How would I be feeling of it? And then all of a sudden it was like, I felt that,
Hmm.
and then there would be a voice that would come in because I used to see people laying on a table, and I'd say, "Your gallbladder is out because you don't like corn." And he said, "Yes, I do like corn." I said, "You shouldn't be drinking, eating corn because it's fresh corn and it's causing your gallbladder to go bad." And he went, "I just came back from the doctor, and he said that right there." I see it differently because I don't allow myself to get involved with this world here.
Mhm.
I go into a different world. That's why they can do I can do the things I can do because I don't stay in this world much. I mean, I stay here, but I'm not there. Guys, this is something we need to be teaching. I'm sorry. We need to have people more like me out there teaching, like Jeremy and I going out there. We need to start doing conferences on it, but we're not going to be doing. I like silence conference. I don't want music. I don't want anything. Everything here has been a lie. All your music, everything has been programmed. Everything.
Well, I think that what's changed is the technology is caught up to that story. That's what Rich was talking about earlier on Instagram. That's where I kind of live. Less on Facebook because Facebook, and I don't see it as much on Twitter. Rich maybe, but the um,
What would
it's the
you do?
story is controlled by the frequency of how many videos kids are watching
Oh
now,
yeah,
and the capacity to change that story it comes down to the Me Too movement. That was the
I
first,
was in the Me Too movie.
Yes,
yeah,
you were.
that was the first time something shifted so radically in such a short period of time. And that was a new awareness for everybody.
Look what they did with the women in that, with the clitoris
Yeah.
hats. Come on, people.
Yeah, I didn't see that
I
part,
was,
but
I was like, I mean, I had people that called me and said, "Are you not going to go to the parade?" I said, "I'm not wearing one of
yeah.
those hats."
And it's all part of Pussy Riot. Remember that
That is
band?
another program.
Yep. Yep.
And they took that Me Too and they flipped it around everybody again through programming. I was furious because my Me Too saved my life in my college.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if you all ever heard that one, because I did
See,
do
but
it.
that's why I think we're at a point in history where the technology which has been developed for control is actually empowering people to change their story much faster, because there's a massive community on Instagram that is a lot like you. They
Really?
may be saying it, oh God, yes, it's huge. My
Oh,
entire algorithm is tuned to people like you.
yeah. See, I'm not into that, or TikTok,
Right.
into that. I don't
But
have.
that's going to be the channel in which that change, I think, happens, because it's quicker. The brain processes visual imagery a lot faster than reading or hearing.
And I don't think.
And
I don't know about that. See, I really.
I think the video processing helps people process it much faster because it comes in waves. They literally go from scroll to reel to reel to reel to reel to reel, and they're watching, not everybody, but there is a
Well,
subset of it.
from this video that I've done, and I mean, I've
Mm-hmm.
got hundreds of them on there
Yeah.
from 2012. But I look at that and I was saying exactly the same thing. I've been saying the same thing for
Mm-hmm.
25 years.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, what it is, it's not because of the words I said. And that's what I say. It is the strength that I said it
Mm-hmm.
and I stood in it and I wasn't afraid to speak about it.
Yep. Yeah. It's the
That,
courage.
it took, that's what we need, folks. We don't need
Well,
more.
Dr. Hawkins said in 2003 was the first time humanity lived above 200. And I think we're now shifting higher, but it's a very slow, gradual process, but it becomes a flywheel
I loved him.
eventually.
He was,
Oh,
he
he's
was,
awesome. To me, he's one of the most important people in
well,
this day and age
made
that
me
there is.
realize how much of
Yeah.
your death experience it was. It's over
Yeah.
600 or
Yeah.
700.
He had one.
Yeah. And he understood it, but he understood
Mm-hmm.
it scientifically. I
Yeah, he
understand
did.
both sides.
Yeah.
So the science is the man-made. It's man-made.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, it's a
spirit,
religion.
Well, I think it's our
Isn't
attempt to handle and
religion?
emotionally understand it. Go ahead, Rich. Sorry.
I was just saying, science is its own religion, right? It
it is.
has
Yeah.
Yeah,
It can be.
yeah,
discussions.
because when you look at it, I mean, they've been pretty much upside it down, pretty much, and they're not telling us everything. They're not
Yeah.
even telling us everything about the Bible. So, I mean, you can see the Bible. All I do is this. I'll show you. This is the Bible. This is the Bible that Jesus Christ stood up in my and went like this and said, the Bible, there's a Bible within the Bible, and it turned into water. And he said, dive in, and I did right here. And all I do with the Bible, when you really understand it, man, it's got a lot of. I just kind of open it up and let my eyes. And all right, truly, we are consumed by our anger and by our wrath. We are put to rout. You have kept our inequalities between us, our hidden sins in the light of your scrutiny. All of our days have passed away. What they're talking about in that is that we hide our lies.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's how
all
we fool ourselves.
we're fooling ourselves every time
Yeah.
we lie about anything. I mean, if you're not willing to look at anything, you're not going to ever understand it anyway. You can't, you got to have an open mind. If you don't, you're already out.
So Virginia, we need to wrap up, but Rich, do you have any final questions?
Too much.
No. We were saying before this, we should just have you on again. And because you have so many fantastic stories. So I'll work with you to schedule something in the future, but this has been absolutely fantastic.
I hope
We've
it's,
loved having you on
well,
because you're sharing a way of living that is geared towards health, It's geared towards living. It's geared towards positivity. It's geared towards creation. Those are the things that we want our listeners to have. And I think
Oh,
you've brought it in
yes.
spades today. So thank you.
Well, good. I hope so, because this has been better than I don't want to talk about the NDEs. I want to talk about the miracles that have
Yeah.
occurred since.
Well,
Those are
that's the thing is your journey it started at the beginning of your life, but it culminated in this near death experience that catapulted you into a brand new way of seeing life. And
oh yeah,
it's up to people to ask, does this resonate with me? And if people want to find you, how do they find you?
through email. It's revisions111 at roadrunner.com.
Awesome.
111 again.
Well, that's why I used it, because 111 is a big deal for me. When I'm, especially if I'm really lost or something that I'm really pondering, I do a lot of pondering,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden there'll be, and I said, there it is right there. I mean, I sit right here in the day that I became a motivational speaker. I walked in here, raised my hand, and I said, it's time for me to speak for you. The next week I had my first motivational speaking for $1,000. And I
There
didn't
you
do
go.
it. I didn't do
Step
it.
into your courage.
I just stood in it. I said, God, it's time for me to speak for you. And then boom, the next week I had my first one.
And we
It's
didn't even call it manifesting, Jonathan. It just
I
came. It
know.
was came into being.
Yeah. Well, it's when you really have that focus and it's in the narrow road, like I'm
It's
talking,
in the belief.
it's not on there. Well, belief is
Mhm.
not, belief is another story, that there's no such thing as belief. It's knowing. If you
It's
don't know it, then you don't. Belief is just another thought, it's just another
I
word.
disagree with you on that. I think
Okay.
belief is in the encapsulation, but it's your experience is much deeper. I think belief is the beginning of the journey, knowing is the journey.
Maybe you're right at the beginning, but I never
Right.
did
It's
know
not the encapsulation of it, it's the beginning part of it.
it.
Jesus
Okay.
said believe so that we began that journey. It's a starting point. Yeah.
Believe.
Yes.
Believe.
Yeah.
Look at the word
Yeah.
believe. Believe.
Virginia, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you for joining us.
Well, I'm glad
Uh,
you did it.
we have really enjoyed this in a wonderful way. Rich, any final words to our audience?
You
No.
know,
I
you're
just
welcome anytime. Just tell me when you want to fly in.
I've already been to Louisville once, and I'm going to come again. Is that your closest airport? Is to in Louisville?
No, it's Lexington,
Okay, Lexington. Very good. Well,
because you've only been about 10 minutes away from me.
oh, there you go. Well, I'm looking forward to a date, and I just got to say that I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, I was expecting a real exciting podcast, and my eyes have been opened up in new ways, and I think we've hit on new areas. And the more and more conversations we have, the more and more see connected.
Oh, I will say, I like you guys. You're easy to get along with. Well, and you handle it with me saying, no, that's not what I agree with. Because I'm not telling you wrong.
That's okay. Yeah, we
But I think that's what we should be doing is what,
yeah.
I mean, if I got something that I think that you need, if you're going down the wrong road, I owe it to myself, not you, for myself to
Mhm.
tell you,
Yeah.
because I will not be amiss. I'm not going crossed over and God saying, how did you serve me? And I'm going to say, well, I don't know. I'm not ever doing that again. I already done, because honey, let me tell you, any regrets, it was just like I walked in and it was like an elevator and all my regrets were in this elevator. And then it just closed and he said, it's done now. And it was like, and then I said, I want to go back. And I said it, I want to go back to my family. That family is not existing now.
Wow.
My family is my family, like you, the
Mhm.
people who are now
Yeah.
coming into this level of understanding.
Mhm.
This is who we are. We don't come, and it won't take that many. Say in the Bible, two or more gather. We got three. That's a triangle.
There you go.
I know how that works. I know you got to go. So you all
All
been,
right, everybody. We this has been Living in the Matrix. Please respond, comment, review. Let us know if you have a guest you'd like to invite onto our show for us. Please connect us. We'd love to hear it. Virginia is an example of that. One of our guests actually suggested her for our show, and this has been absolutely fantastic. So,
so
thank you,
somebody said,
everybody.
oh, okay.
Much love.